Meave noted a crowd of dwarves. They were several dozen, many holding baskets brimming with dried sausages, soft, puffy pretzels, and jugs of frothy beer.
What is this gathering?
She asked Gabor.
These folk, they're the parents of youngsters who are to return today from their Drekthag.
Gabor proceeded to explain that the Drekthag was a trek upon which the local dwarves would embark when they reached maturity. During this year-long voyage, young folk would taste of life beyond their home. Yet if they failed to return on time, they would be stripped of all rights and privileges accorded to Mahakam's natives.
See, in recent years, young folks' blood's been boiling on account of the strict laws in force here.
Gabor added.
So, we send them out. Let them taste life in the lowlands. Once they've learned for themselves what it's like to live among humans, they come back and ain't likely to complain.
Customarily, only a few dwarves ever decided to remain in the valleys for good. That year, however, was different.
Deadline's the Mora. And 40 Drekthagers still haven't returned.
Their parents now worried if some misfortune had not befallen them. The Mahakaman Guard had sent out patrols to the near reaches of the valleys. They returned not having seen anything distressing, while the humans living at the foot of the massif had been largely unwilling to talk. The guard captain, a dwarf with a fiery red beard, removed his helmet, wiped the sweat from his brow, and addressed Meave.
Your Majesty, we need to find our youth. Perhaps you'd be willing to go out and search. Human folk are more like to tell you if they saw anything out of the ordinary of late. Naturally, there'd be something in it for you too.
One could say I myself have lost a son.
Meave gripped the captain's hand firmly.
And I know well the pain that comes. I shall do all in my might to spare you at least that.
Meave set off, the hopeful gazes of the dwarven parents bidding her farewell. The Queen sent a scout ahead. Sometime later, she heard his horn. 3 blasts. 2 short, 1 long.
An ambush!
Meave expected to combat beasts or robbers. Yet upon her force descended warriors with squirrel tails attached to their helms. Scoia'tael.
Scoia'tael! Don't let them escape!
I shall not fail!
You mad? Don't shake that!
My spirit's willing and how, but these damn boots are killing me.
You should not have come here.
This could hurt.
Hi-ho! Hi-ho!
We'll catch 'em all! Come on! Who's fast?
Well, if anyone's got any hooch left.
Our ballista, your command.
None shall tread on us! Now we will see who is weak!
Never had your kneecaps broken!
Oh my.
They used to iron my tongue about that.
So much anger and suffering. For what?
The storm is coming. Let's enjoy the weather while we still can.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your teeth?
Now we must stick together. Elven blarney.
They're so young. No wonder they were easily manipulated.
As soon as the battle had come to an end, the prisoners were brought before the Queen. All, without exception, were dwarves. and all looked to be youthful dwarves.
Mystery solved,
muttered Meave. In fact, these were the missing Drechthaggers. Instead of returning home, they had enlisted with guerrillas fighting for non-human rights. But what had prompted so drastic a decision?
I was impatient. Wanted badly to turn 50. I couldn't wait to see human cities. Vitsima, Tretigo, Novigrad.
Said one of the dwarven prisoners while pressing a bandage to a bleeding wound.
And you know the welcome that awaited me there. I was spit upon and called names. I saw ghettos, massacres. And how was I to go back to the mines after that? We must fight while we still can. Before the humans come to cut us down, we must tell the rest of ours the same. Pull all Mahakam into the fight!
Meave's soldiers stood waiting for her to protest, to accuse the dwarf of lying. But the queen could not pretend she did not understand why the dwarf had taken up arms. Without entering into a discussion, she ordered the prisoners taken to be tried and judged by their kin and elders. The dwarven parents thus got their offspring returned to them, albeit wounded and in chains. Bruva Hoog, who had limitless disdain for the Scoia'tael, demanded the dwarven youth be severely punished for succumbing to the rebels' seductive ideals. In the end, the Drechthaggers were sentenced to 50 years hard labor in the quarries. The Elder-in-Chief believed a half-century of swinging a pickaxe would sufficiently cool the hot heads of these would-be guerrilla fighters.
They came back alive. That's the key part.
The red-headed captain said, handing Meave a pouch as a reward.
And perchance by the time they're freed, the war twixt the races will be over, eh? What do you think, Queen?
Meave shrugged in response. Perhaps she had no opinion in the matter, or perhaps she simply did not wish to state it aloud. The Queen noted a building with unusually lavish ornamentation, including shining bronze roof tiles and glistening rock crystal window panes. An important clan dwelled there, Gabor explained. The Breckenrigs.
Could you introduce me?
Meave asked.
Perhaps I can convince them to intercede with Bruver on my behalf.
The clan head, Iva, invited Meave to an exquisite feast. But when she broached the subject of the war raging just outside Mahakam's borders, the dwarf changed the subject at once. Looking around the interior, Meave quickly understood why. The walls were ordained with Nilfgaardian tapestries and rugs. Gifts from friendly Imperial envoys, no doubt. Meave prepared to leave, convinced she had wasted her time, when someone clasped her shoulder and pulled her into a darkened room. Her kidnapper turned out to be a young dwarf. Female, it seemed, dressed in her nightshirt. She introduced herself as Iva's daughter, Eudora Breckenrigs, and openly admitted she had eavesdropped on Meave's dinner conversation.
Listen, me dad's stubborner than an old goat, but I'll convince him to help ye. For a wee favour, that is.
What?
I want you to steal something from the clan archive. Historiae Mahakamorum, 'tis called. See, me dad won't let me betroth me sweetikin Zoltan. Says the codex forbids marrying a dwarf who's left the mountains. But there's precedent. Just such a case described in that document. If I can show it to Da, he'll have to change his mind.
Meve felt sympathy for Eudora and wanted to help her, especially considering the favor Eudora could do her in return. But she fully realized if her attempt to break into the archive ended badly, it would result in a tremendous scandal Bruva Hoog would not soon forget.
The pot's worth the play, I believe. Fine. I accept your offer.
They then shook hands, sealing the deal. Meve had to bite her tongue to stop from crying out, for the young she-dwarf had the grip of a brawny blacksmith. Meve returned to her company, and, massaging her sore hand, presented Eudora's offer. Gascon volunteered for the task at once.
Thievery's my forte. The dwarves won't notice a single mothball out of place.
Gascon snuck into the archive under the cover of darkness. Just as he was tucking Eudora's desired document into his cloak, he heard dwarven boots clanking down the stairs.
Damn it!
Gascon swore.
I can't let them catch me.
Who's there?
What a nub. That was close.
Ah! Stop! Who's there?
Luckily, Gascon managed to do the deed quietly, so the dwarves never found out who had broken in. As agreed, Meve handed Eudora the stolen document.
Ha!
The dwarf shouted, raising the parchment in a triumphant gesture.
Da can't do nothing to stop her making vows now. I've got to write Zoltan right quick. Thanks. Thanks a million times over.
And Eudora did her part too. Soon after, the Queen learned there'd been a gathering of the clans, and Ivor had indeed spoken on her behalf. She could only hope the elder Breckenriggs had swayed Bruva Hoog as well.
You can count on us, Queenie. Ivor'll be a wall at your back, stout and strong.
Ah, you thundering dope! I told you to hold your horses or you'll shake the hitch loose.
Oh, now you're a bleeding expert, are you? You overloaded the damn cart, that's why it's busted.
A wagon lay strewn across the middle of the road. Behind it stood others, some loaded with gold, jewels, and other valuables, others groaning under barrels of pickled meat. Each dwarf had his own theory about how the accident had come about, and thundered it out to all and sundry, peppered with choice invectives.
An odd caravan,
Meave said.
They don't look like merchants.
Nay, they ain't,
Gabor answered.
Dwarves of the Ferens clan, carrying gifts for the Drake. Remember Keltullis? When he took roost here, Ferences fought him for near a century. Then the dragon got weary of fighting and they realised he weren't going nowheres, so they cut a deal. He didn't bother them. They give him what he needs.
Well, well. And these offerings they send often?
Every week. Excuse me, got to separate them lads, for they tear out each other's beards. Hey there! Cool your idiot heads!
Gabor managed to douse his brethren's fiery tempers, but the wagon still lay across the road, blocking all traffic.
Queen,
said Xavier.
It is an easy repair. I have the tools, the parts. Need but your permission.
Of course. Go see what can be done.
Xavier did indeed make quick work of the problem. Within moments, the wagon was rolling smoothly down the road, good as new.
Well, shaft me, your highness,
said one of the dwarves.
Your engineer's got a pate like stewed meat, but he kens his trade, that's for certain.
I'll convey your words to him. Or at least part of them.
Me and the lads will be on our way now, but first, take this. Bit of gold by way of thanks.
Thank you,
Meave said, accepting the surprisingly heavy pouch.
In wartime, every copper counts.
The dwarf bowed in parting, shook the snow off his beard, then rejoined his caravan. Within a few moments, the wagons had disappeared around the bend. A pillar of smoke rose above the mountains, and a sooty aroma filled the air.
Fire,
Gabor said, then took a deep sniff.
Perhaps a bolt struck some barren trees?
No,
Meave said curtly.
I know that scent too well. All Edirn reeked of it. It's the smell of burning homes.
The Lyrians quickened their gait. Soon they saw a town fully aflame, and a roaring, furious dragon above it.
That's your Keltullis?
Gascon asked, shielding his eyes from the sharp glare emanating from the city.
You were right. Perfectly harmless.
Dinna ken was get his knickers in a bunch,
the dwarf said, grabbing his axe from his belt.
Queen, we got to make haste to the rescue.
Reynard!
Meave called out.
Have our men wet their cloaks for a modicum of fire protection. We move as soon as they're done.
Your Grace, they are but common soldiers. To fight a dragon.
I know, but we must help them, or at least try.
While Reynard went to pass on the order, Meave turned to Gabor.
This dragon, has it any weakness?
Fear not,
said the sombre dwarf.
Except a fondness for raw meat.
Meave nodded and swallowed dryly. Despite the cold, she felt sweat pour down her scalp. Stifling her fear, Meave gave the order to attack, and her soldiers rode into the flaming city. From up close, Keltullis looked even more terrifying. Though enormous, he moved with shocking agility, like a lizard scurrying over sand. With one swing of his paw, he snapped the necks of 3 dwarves, then bisected a 4th with a powerful bite. After that, he turned his attention to the Lyrians.
More of you!
He said, twisting his bloody maw into a horrifying smile.
God!
Behind me! Stay together!
You must sweat like a swine in that jacket.
Catch!
I could kill the dragon. It has to be possible.
Your Grace, we're taking losses!
Ah, shite! He's raging now! Watch out!
We must trust each other!
That day, many Lyrians perished, either to the dragon's all-consuming fire or to its flesh-rending claws. Yet their sacrifice was not in vain. Together with the dwarves, they were able to grievously wound Keltullis, forcing him to flee. The howls of the wounded monster rang throughout the valley.
That's right, howl, you scurvy snake! Shouldn't they ever attacked us, eh? Damn fuel lizard!
Meave, that's Vavranik, elder of the town and all the Ferences.
My regards and condolences.
Eh, tain't so bad. If nae for ye, wouldn't there be a stone left unrubbled? To be honest, when I caught wind some human queen come to Mahakam looking for aid, I said a crocus would sprout twixt my cheeks afore I'd vote aye on that. Gonna be a fear to look in my breeches after, but changed my mind. After what I saw today, what ye did for us, you've the support and undying gratitude of all Ferences.
Thank you. Faced with a Nilfgaardian peril, that means a great deal.
Forgive me for interrupting this tear-tugging scene of interracial reconciliation, but I can't hold back nae longer. Vavranik! Double shice! What happened? Why'd Keltullis attack?
I ken as much as ye. Meaning, squat diddly. Just flew up, started spewing flames, half the town lit up in a flash.
Sheepshank! 300 years I've been a good neighbour.
What's done's done. Got to think about the future. The Drake's just taking a breather. Gotta finish him off for he's regained form.
Meaning, we haven't much time. He heals like an alchemist's pup. And the nearest guards are miles away. He'll be up flying again before they get here.
Aye, that's what I thought. Perhaps, Your Grace, you'd,
What? Jest you must.
I ken you're tired through the fight, dinna want to risk casualties, etc. But remember, the beast's sleeping on a bed of gold and rubies. All belonging by right to Bruther, of course. But if quibbling some wandered off, he'd nae notice.
I admit that does alter my calculations. Besides, the dragon was badly wounded.
Putting it featherly, blood poured out of him like a leaky bladder. Just needs a coup de grace.
Fine. I'll do the deed.
Ken you'd see the light.
Oi, Vavrenek, Vavrenek. This lady's gonna make your rump a regular crocus garden.
Aye. Queen's doing us a great service. One that'll profit us both.
So, where is Keltullis' lair?
Not through here. It's a vast cavern. Ye cannae miss it.
Meve bid farewell to Vavrenek and set out on her way. Did her way lead to the dragon's lair, you ask? Shh. Let's not spoil the surprise.